Good morning, everybody. My name is Catherine Blythe. I am Head of Languages at Hayesfield School and I teach on the Spanish side of the A-level. There are 4 of us who you're going to meet who are going to be teaching you next year. And very soon after I've finished speaking, you're going to meet all of the department, and over the next 2 years you'll get to meet us all. As I said, my name is Catherine Blythe. I'm Head of Languages. I teach on the Spanish A-level course alongside Miss Cordero. Between us, our backgrounds are that I studied Spanish at university, obviously, and I spent my time abroad in Spain, and my area of expertise is literature and also Spanish history. And alongside me is Miss Cordero, who spent most of her time learning Spanish in Bolivia in South America, and her areas of expertise are film and music and art and diversity and discrimination. So between us, we make a very good team, I think, in that we have very different specialities and we can bring a lot to the course. Teaching the French is Miss Saban. She's French and she's from Toulouse, and she enjoys teaching the literature and the history, a bit like me really. And alongside her, you've got Mr. Allen, and Mr. Allen will be teaching La Haine, the film you'll be studying, alongside the youth issues kind of topics and things like that. I think we're a very interesting department to spend time with. We've got lots of experiences that we like to share with you. As part of the course, we'll take you, as long as we're allowed to leave the country, to France and Spain. So those people who do French, we invite you to come along and join in with our exchange that we run every year. And the only difference is you don't go and spend your time with the year 10 students. You spend your time in a French language school during the day, improving your grammar, and you can ask them all sorts of questions that you want answered about French culture. Spanish students, we send you out to Spain in February half term of year 13, and you go do the same thing. You go off to a language school and you spend your time living with local families and practicing your Spanish and having intense grammar lessons during the day. That's sort of basics. The other thing we offer you at Hayesfield is that we have foreign language assistants. So next year we have a nice person coming from France and one from Spain, and they'll be with us starting the beginning of October. And your timetabled lessons every week, you will have half an hour or so in a small group, probably 2 or 3 of you, with the foreign language assistants. We find that so beneficial because they can fill in all the gaps that you need with regards to youth culture in France and Spain, because you can see I'm not that youthful, so they can help you a little bit with that. So what I thought I'd do now is talk you through a little bit about each of the courses before I let you then meet the teachers a bit later on. Starting off with French, Miss Saban, as I said, she enjoys teaching the literature, and she teaches a book which is called Nous et moi. And Nous et moi is a very interesting book, and we chose it because it's all about a very intelligent young chap whose best friend is the class naughty boy, really. So anyway, this young girl, she spends a lot of time with him, and her father puts on a brave face about things but cries secretly in the bathroom, while her mother rarely speaks and hardly ever leaves the house. So Lou, the girl, is desperate to leave this terrible life that she's leaving. So she goes to the train station and just sits there watching trains going back and forth. And while she's there, she meets a young homeless girl called No, hence the name Nous et moi, only a few years older than herself, and decides to make homelessness the topic of her class. Very gritty drama, very interesting book that Mr. Ban has chosen, not old-fashioned French books, but something really, really good. Mr. Allen chooses to teach the film La Haine. It's a 1995 French film, so quite a new film, but it was filmed in black and white. It's about, La Haine means hate. So those who are listening who are Spanish and don't know what I'm talking about, La Haine means hate. And it's about 3 young friends and their struggle to live in the banlieue of Paris. And the title derives from one of them says a line within the film, and the film is La haine attire la haine. Hatred breeds hatred. So it's a really gritty film that you will study in year 12. In Spanish, I love teaching the play La Casa de Bernarda Alba. It's a play by Lorca. It's about women, and these women in the house who've suffered bereavement and are desperate to leave the house, and it's their struggles. I always liken it to being at Hayesfield Girls' School when you're in year 11 and you're desperate to leave and you can't leave until you finish your GCSEs. I love teaching it. It's by an author called Lorca. And I think to study Spanish and not do Lorca would be studying English and not studying Shakespeare. A quote from one of my students from last year, Laurie, who kind of said to me, he said, "Miss, I'm glad we did it because I feel now that I've done something that's proper Spanish." So I'll do that with you in year 12. It's quite fun. I make you dress up and we read the play aloud, and then I get you to write some lovely essays. And I think the literature essays are not anything to be scared of because really they're only 300 words long, so not that much longer than you're writing at GCSE. And there's a nice structure to follow. So even if you're not doing literature A level for English, I wouldn't worry about studying the literature part of the languages courses because actually they really are very straightforward and very easy to write. Miss Cordero will do the film with you, and at the moment we're looking at doing Pan's Labyrinth, and Pan's Labyrinth takes us nicely to the end of the Spanish Civil War, and it's about a young girl who's forced to go and live with the captain of the army, and she spends most of her time in a fantasy, I suppose, where she meets all sorts of fantasy creatures, and it's a film really which is trying to live out her life within a fantasy but also in the real world where people are being killed because they're against the dictatorship and the regime that he is leading. Really, really interesting film, and you'll be doing that in year 13. So that's the literature and films that we choose to cover. In order to help you, we have lots of booklets that we give you. According to my department, I'm booklet queen, and I love nothing more than a booklet. You'll know that by the IRP that I sent you all to do by the 1st of June, because that was a nice booklet, wasn't it? So we give you lots of nice booklets that you can work through, and they'll guide you through everything, every step of the way. The topics we do at A level. In year 12, they're divided into 2 topics. The first topic is what they entitle Being a Young Person in Spanish or French-Speaking Society. And what that topic entails are some of the crossover things from GCSE. So we start off, nice and slowly, nice and gently, bridging a nice gap between GCSE and A-level. And we start off with family structures, traditional and modern. So that goes from church weddings to Catholicism to gay marriage, etc., to the rights of people who don't want to get married and what rights do they have, through to relationships within the family, the impact of the older generation to support the younger generation. I do that. I also then do youth trends issues alongside this foreign language assistant because I think she can offer more about that than I can. And Mr. Allen teaches that in the French side. And then we look at things like excessive drinking, drugs, all those kind of things that affect young people. And then finally, we do education employment, also linked really closely to young people. Because within Spain, for example, there is something called the Nini generación, and the Nini means neither nor. So they've neither got an education nor have they got a job. And I think that's a very interesting thing for us to look at, really, especially in the current climate, looking at France and Spain, which were struggling with employment, to see what's happening with that now. So I think next year could potentially be quite interesting because we've got some really interesting news articles we'll be able to dig out and look at regarding those topics. The lovely Miss Cordero and Miss Spam spend their time doing theme 2, which is understanding the French and Spanish speaking world. So that's where we can go off into South America, into Quebec, into parts of Africa, and look at their culture through music, art, film, and did I say architecture? Because for some reason that comes up a lot. And we'll look at different buildings, etc., etc. Also, as part of year 12, you'll start La N and you'll finish it, and you'll start La Casa with me, the literature, and we'll finish that. And at the end of year 12, you'll have a mock paper, and we can give you a realistic grade because you'll have covered everything that you need to pass an AS paper. The best part of A-level, though, has to be the year 13 topics. Miss Saban and me. We enjoy teaching the history. I absolutely love it. So in French, you're going to do France 1940 to 1950, the occupation and the post-war years, and Miss Saban gets teeth into that. And the lovely thing about having Miss Saban teaching it is the fact that a lot of her family lived through it, and she's got lots of artifacts that she brings in, and in fact you actually have recordings of her grandfather, etc., talking about it, which really brings it to life in a really, really lovely way. I do the two Spains, 1936 onwards, and so therefore we look at the Spanish Civil War, we look at Guernica, the bombing of Guernica, we look at the influence of Hitler and Mussolini, we then move into Franco's years and the dictatorship of Spain and the rights and responsibilities of people. We use the FLA a lot to help us with that one because they come with stories from their family about what it was like to live under the dictatorship. And then we move into modern Spain, and as I just explained a minute ago, we go from a dictatorship where people had nothing into now where we are, having gone through democracy, into a lot of Spain still have nothing. And I think that's really interesting to look at. The older generation of Spain kind of say they'd like to go back to living under a dictator because they had a job, they had money coming in, they felt safe, and they don't feel so safe anymore. So that's quite an interesting thing for us to look at. Mr. Allen and Miss Cordero then take the last topic of your A-level, which is diversity and difference. And from that title, you can imagine we talk about migration, integration, cultural identity, discrimination, diversity, and they really get their teeth into those topics. And I know a number of you have done those kind of topics for your independent research project. And from that point of view, we're really excited to have you in our classes next year, because the things you've actually spoken about for us are things that we find really interesting, and we're hoping that we can develop those further. We do a lot of debating in the language classroom, as you can imagine, trying to get you talking a lot more. And you've got some really good ideas already, and I think we'll be using your independent research projects to kind of lead some of those debates at the beginning of the year. So we're not going to bin what you've done. We're going to use them because they are cracking. Finally, from me, before I let you see the last few little funny clips of my department, is obviously in languages you have to do exams. And the language papers divide into 3 different papers. And the first paper is listening, reading and translating, and that just says what it is on the tin, covering all the topics that I've just mentioned. And the second paper is literature and film on that paper. And it's, as I said, it's 350 maximum words for your film and your literature. So nothing too much to write about. So we want something quite precise, to the point. And finally, you'll do a speaking assessment. And the speaking assessment is very similar to what you've just done for us with your independent research project. But obviously, it'll be bigger than that with more sources. And then you do like a role play type card, a bit like your GCSE kind of cards. And you'll get given a card with the photograph on and some text on, and then what you do is you write about that in some notes, and then you come in and you'll talk to the external examiner, and he talks to you and asks you questions about what you've understood about the card, and that's where you need to have some facts to back up your arguments. So hence why we use the foreign language assistants to give you some facts. So, for example, if the card's about divorce rates, it'd be really nice for you to say, well, the divorce rate in France or in Spain has dropped considerably in the last 5 years from X% to X%. And the exam will go, oh, she knows her stuff, or he knows his stuff, tick, nice box. Anyway, I'm sure you're bored of listening to me. That's sort of 13 minutes of listening to me. And I will pass you on now to meeting the rest of my team. Have a lovely day today, and I'll see you in September. Adiós. Au revoir.
Hola, año 12. Me llamo señora Blythe. Soy profesora de español aquí. Y lo que más me gusta es el chocolate. Y lo que menos me gusta es el deporte. Hasta luego.
Hola chicas y chicos, me llamo señor Cordero y voy a ser profesor de español para ustedes el año que viene. Como ves de mi acento y el uso del usted, mis raíces vienen de América Latina, entonces les voy a enseñar mucho sobre América Latina, diferentes países por ahí, la cultura ahí, y bueno, entonces hasta nos vemos, adiós, chao.
Bonjour, year 12.
Je m'appelle Madame Saban et je suis professeure de français à Hayesfield. J'ai vraiment hâte de vous rencontrer. Ce que je préfère faire, c'est étudier le français à l'école avec les élèves un peu plus âgés. Et ce que je déteste, c'est les gens qui ne font pas les devoirs. Je suis très contente de pouvoir enseigner le français une nouvelle année, l'année prochaine avec vous.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Monsieur Allen, je suis professeur de français et d'espagnol ici à Hayesfield. J'adore la culture française et les films français et on va se voir en septembre.
Je m'appelle Madame Bradford, je suis prof de français et d'espagnol et j'ai trop hâte de vous rencontrer l'année prochaine. J'adore la culture française et manger de la nourriture française aussi. Au revoir.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Madame Poupezon. Je serai votre prof de français l'année prochaine et j'adore enseigner les adolescents et aussi j'adore faire des promenades en forêt. Au revoir.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Blythe. I'm in charge of the faculty. My favourite thing is chocolate. I don't like boys. I can't wait to teach you French and Spanish next year. My favourite topic to teach is pets.
Hi, I'm Mr. Allen. Hi, I'm Mr. Allen. I love football, I love running. Things I don't like spinach, I don't like cabbage. I'm looking forward to meeting you all next year inside and outside the classroom, and my favourite topic to teach is free time and sports.
Hi, I'm Miss Bradford. I teach French and Spanish and I love going for walks in the countryside and I absolutely hate eating mushrooms. I'm really excited to teach you the topic of music next year.
Hello Year 7, welcome to Languages. I'm Mrs. Poupezon. I love walking and reading and I really hate painting. I'm looking forward to meeting you and teaching you French next year.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Émilie. Oh, non. Bonjour, je m'appelle Madame Saban. Moi, j'adore les plantes et je déteste le chocolat. Je vais faire du français l'année prochaine et mon sujet préféré, c'est la nourriture parce que j'adore manger.
Bonjour, hola, I'm Miss Cordero. I'm head of Key Stage 3 languages. I love chocolate as well, but I also love Latin America and music. And I am looking forward to teaching you all about the festivals and culture of Spain and Latin America when you're here. I do teach French, but obviously Spanish is best. And, and well, we can't wait to meet you all when you come in September. So, bye.